What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you a learning to play test stand video for heroes. Now heroes are incredibly good right now. They're obviously not top tier, but they are definitely being able to create some waves in the format. Hopefully the ban list will help them with this as well, but just for the pure fact that they can produce cards that deal with the graveyard, they can produce cards that constantly float, and they can also produce massive beaters, so you've got the ability of OTK and obviously stun plays as well. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to start this test stand video off with a one card combo that I've shown before, but the idea behind this one card combo is it shows you how far it can go and the basic play that you will want to make with Fusion Destiny. Then obviously off the back of that, I'll start doing test stands to show you the consistency of this particular build. So you're going to activate the Fusion Destiny. Now the idea is that you're going to try to bait out the hand trap, bait out the Ash before anything else happens. Ash is really the only card that's going to stop this card resolving. So you want to try all you can to bait that out. If you are that desperate, you could put in cross-out designators, but to be totally honest, I don't think it is going to be worth it. The two cards you're going to send will be your Malicious and your Denier. Denier is such an amazing addition to this particular deck, it's crazy. So just by doing that, you've produced your best card of Dark Phoenix Enforcer, and obviously the best thing about this as well is as long as you get a monster on the board, it can dodge Nibiru. So it does mean that even if your opponent Nibiru's you, whether you hold the Fusion Destiny back until later on, or whether you've already activated it, you will still have one card that will be able to float around. So obviously off the back of this, what you want to do is you want to banish the Malicious from your graveyard, and that will summon out the second copy from its deck. Who needs Mali at 3 when constantly we're going to be playing it at 3 already as it is? So you summon out the Mali from your deck, and because you control a Destiny Hero monster, you can summon back Denier. Denier will then put this particular Mali that you've just banished back to the top of the deck, meaning you're going to get a free extended body later on in the play. You're then going to link these two together and you're going to go into your extra hero Cross Crusader. This card deserves a foil print beyond many. This will then trigger its own effect to bring back a Destiny hero from the graveyard. It can be Denier, it can be Malicious, it really doesn't matter. You're then going to tribute off that Malicious and you're going to be able to search yourself out a Vision hero Vion. You're going to normal summon the Vion, then you're going to use its effect to Foolish Burial a Dark hero. Now, by obviously all you want to be doing with that one is the one you want to be sending on this particular time is you do want to send your elemental hero Shadow Mist. Now obviously if you have another hero in the hand, that's where you could go for Stratos to search out Faris or just search out Faris directly. But we're going to go that we have absolutely nothing and how far we can go. You're then going to trigger the effect of Shadow Mist. That will then give you the ability to search yourself out any hero again. So you want to be searching out your Destiny hero Plasma. You're then going to banish the Malicious that's in the graveyard and summon the one that would have been on the top of the deck, but you have shuffled your deck a couple of times already and summon itself out of the deck. So technically that is your third Malicious, but you've just looped a couple. You're then going to use the Vision Hero Vion's effect to banish a hero monster, so it can be Denier because it's already used its effect, or it can be Shadow Mist, it really doesn't matter, to then add a Pulverization. Now this will give you place for your follow-up turn. If you really wanted to, you could activate it now, because you could, in theory, fuse your Plasma with your Mali, but it doesn't really get you anywhere that you want to go. So your best kind of play now would be to tribute your Cross Crusader, your Mali, and your Vion, and go into a Plasma. So you've set yourself up with a skill drain. Your opponent's monsters are going to be losing, I believe, 400 attack. Is it only... No, each hero card. So it will be losing 800 attack, which is really good because it means it's harder for them to beat over Plasma. And you still have a Poly and 4 unknown cards to be playing around with for your next turn. Plus you'll draw into it and go from there. So that's just the very basic one card combo with, of course, Fusion Destiny. Your plays do adapt. You do have the ability of going through stuff like your Stratos plays with your Faris plays and then your Sunriser plays and stuff like that, which is what I'm going to be able to show you during the test stands. So what we're going to do here is we're going to shuffle this up. There are a couple of little changes that I might want to make with this. Like I kind of want to cut down the Stratos. I've seen a lot of people don't actually play equal, which I think is a very interesting kind of touch. So there are ways of cutting it down if you want to put in more hand traps, if you want to put in tactical talents or anything like that to kind of help you break boards or just set up back row boards as well, so you don't lose to something like a Dark Ruler. So they're all possible. It just depends on the type of play style that you want to go for. So after a very decent shuffle, we'll do 2 going first and 2 going second, and we'll show you exactly what we've got with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. It sucks we've opened up both of these, but there are ways of getting this to the graveyard. The best thing about this as well is we do have a hero live, so again, we've got additional plays alongside our rotor. Now, to me, I would probably try and activate the rotor first. It might risk my opponent ashing it. The last thing you want them to do is ash the hero lives, because that is going to be 4,000 life points that you're not going to be able to recover from easily. So if we activate the reinforcement of the army, I would probably go in this particular one into our Stratos. Now, you could go to Vion. Vion would make certain plays, but the Stratos himself, because I've got cards in my hand I want to discard and I want to get rid of, Stratos would actually be a better route to get to Faris than anything else. I would also attempt to activate Hero Lives, paying half my life points, because the best card for me to summon out in this particular scenario will be Shadow Mist, because that will then allow me to give me a mask change. There we go. So we're going to go for that one. Now, this one will be a hard summon of DPE, which is a very interesting route to go as well. So keep your eyes peeled. This is how we are going to do it. Now, if I wanted to maintain my normal summon, I could keep the Liquid Soldier, but I'm going to hold this for the next turn. That, at least, if I put the Shadow Mist into graveyard during my opponent's turn, will give me a search, and it will give me the ability of getting to another mask change. So what we're going to do here is we're going to normal summon the Stratos. We're going to use Stratos' effect to search us out a hero. Now, of course, the one you want to be going for will be your Faris. Now, the issue with this one is it doesn't dodge Nibiru greatly, but that would be where you would have to hold back a Malicious, so that should you get Nibiru, you can then Mali and go into a Dark Claw. So it's a not very nice, interesting route as well. You're going to activate the Faris. The Faris is going to discard. It doesn't matter whether it's Denial or Mali, because you'll be getting to a Polymerization eventually, and that will be the overall play. You're going to tribute off the Faris. That will then... Oh, sorry. You're going to use the Faris effect. That will then put Vion into the... increase into the spam trap zone. You're going to use Vion's effect to tribute off the Faris, which will then allow you to search out your Vion. Your Vion on summon effect will then use its effect to Foolish Burial. Now, right now, we don't really have anything we want to Foolish Burial to gain an additional effect off of. So, ultimately, it will come down to whether you want to send your Plasma to Deckfin, or whether you want to send... I think it's only really Plasma. There's no point in sending the other Shadow Mist. So, you don't need to activate its effect. It's entirely up to you. You then use this effect to banish the Faris to search you out a... Polymerization, wherever it is. There we go. Now, we're not locked into Dark Hero, so you do have a couple of different routes, but keep in mind that if you do go those specific routes, you're going to have to loop Polymerization. Now, the best way to loop Polymerization in this particular play, because we got away with a Hero Lives as well, is you can actually link these guys together and go into... Keeping in mind as well, there's a couple of different routes you can go with this one. Do I want to do Wonder Driver first? Yeah, we'll go Wonder Driver first. Let me just double check this one. 2 Warrior Monsters, yeah. So if you go into Wonder Driver first, what this is going to allow you to do is this is going to allow you, in theory, to have 2 fusion monsters. So what we can do now is we can activate Polymerization, and Polymerization can use a mixture of any of the cards you want, or you can bring back your Mali. It depends if you want to get DPE first or if you want to get into your Sunriser first. Either way, it doesn't really matter, and you are going to have the ability to pretty much chain block and build what you need. Now, if you activate the Mali first, this is where you're going to put yourself under a very tight strain for Nibiru, because it will clear your entire board off. If you hold back the Mali, and for example, activate Polymerization now to make into a Sunriser, then it does give you additional plays to move around. So, 2 hero monsters with different attributes. So we'll go with our Dark and Wind. You could, if you really, really wanted to, use the Water and the Dark in the hand. So it really depends on the future plays of where you want to go for and how you want to do this. So you're going to go into Sunriser. This will then trigger a chain of events. So it will trigger the Liquid Soldier in the graveyard, the Sunriser on the field, and the Wonder Magician on the field as well. So the Wonder Magician will reset the poly. You want to make sure you complete your search first of the hero, so you don't draw into your Miracle Fusion. You're then going to shuffle these all up, and you're going to get to draw 2 and discard 1. So we're going to draw 2, which will be a Plasma and a Fusion Destiny, which is quite annoying. But ultimately, the Fusion Destiny is now dead. Like, there's nothing that we want to use the Fusion Destiny for. You're then going to use 2 warrior monsters, so you're going to use your Stratos plus your Wonder Driver. Now you've already used Wonder Driver's effect to give yourself a Cross Crusader. You've then got the ability on the summon of the Cross Crusader to bring back a hero from the graveyard. So you're going to bring back your Mali, you're going to destroy the Mali, and this is going to let you search out. Now again, this comes down to whether you want to be going for future plays. If you do, you go for your Adusted Gold. If you want to go for protected plays, so it's going to make it harder for your opponent to beat over any of your hero monsters, then you go for your elemental hero, Honest Neos. So it's entirely up to you of which way you want to go. I probably, if I was going second, I'd go for Adusted Gold, but because I'm going first, I'll go with the Honest Neos. Then it makes it harder for my opponent to kind of deal with that. Then what you want to do here is you want to use the Mali effect in the graveyard to banish and then summon out Mali from the deck. And then because you control a Destiny hero, you can now also bring back Denier, and Denier will put the Mali back to the top of the deck. One tip that I will honestly make sure is do not forget you've put the Mali back to the top of the deck. I've seen it happen a couple of times where you then forget about it and draw into a Mali, and you've got no plays going from that point on. So you're going to activate your Poly again for the second time. You're going to fuse your Denier plus your Mali, and you're going to go into your DPE. So now you're in a very good position because you still have Miracle Fusion and Mask Change and Plasma should you want to. So it really depends on where you want to go from this point on and how far you want to push it. So if you want to push it that little bit further, you can activate Miracle Fusion. This will then give you very nicely, and it does give you a couple of options, which is quite cool as well. So by banishing that, if you do play Acid, you can go into your Absolute Zero. Now, as long as that Absolute Zero doesn't go back to the extra deck, you will be able to clear off your opponent's monsters. And the best thing about Mask Change is you've got the ability to do front row and back row, which is really, really nice. So you've activated your Miracle Fusion. That is now gone. If you want to get another monster to the board to get your Plasma down, then what you do is you banish the Mali you've put to get the Mali from the top of the deck to the board. You would then tribute off that Mali, your Cross Crusader, and your Shadow Mist to bring down your Plasma. That would still give you the ability, if you want to turn Plasma into Darklaw. But it would be a later state play rather than an instant play. So what I mean by that is at this moment in time, you would set the Mask Change, okay? Now, at current, it gives you the option to Mask Change your Shadow Mist into Darklaw and get a search. And it also gives you the ability to Mask Change your Absolute to get a board wipe and then a back row wipe by summoning out Acid. So you've got 2 options there. If you do bring out the Mali and you decide to go for Plasma, it would mean that your Mask Change would then either have to get rid of your Plasma or get rid of your Absolute. So it depends on which one you feel is going to be more effective. So if your opponent doesn't care about monster effects on the field but actually wants to abuse the graveyard, then you would stick with your Shadow Mist into Darklaw plays. If you feel that they are going to deal with everything, then you'd bring out your Mali from the top of the deck, and then you tribute off your Mali, your Cross, and your Shadow Mist. Another alternative, should you want to, is you could actually turn your Mali and your Cross into a very nice Decimator. Now, the Decimator can go this side to boost these, or it can go the other side to boost Sunrise. Keep in mind that Phoenix Enforcer is going to be reducing everything, Sunriser is going to be boosting everything, and then this is going to boost all of these as well. It does give you a lot to play around with. It just depends on whether you want the Plasma to hit the board or not. So, very, very good defensive hand. Yes, it does get wiped out by Nibiru, but keep in mind, if at any point, so if you had DPE on the board and your opponent goes, right, I'm going to Nibiru you, you go, that's absolutely fine. So what I would probably say is I would probably keep it as Cross Crusader and Shadow Mist with your, and I'll quickly reset this, you've got this, this, and this, right? So we set this and we go, right, okay, we're going to attempt to pass, and my opponent goes, right, Nibiru. You go, absolutely fine. You're going to use DPE's effect to pop himself and another card you control. So we'll get rid of, it doesn't really matter what you get rid of, so we'll get rid of the Sunriser. The rest of these would then get Nibiru'd. The best thing about that is you've got your DP to come back, and because you haven't used the Mali in the graveyard for this turn, you could banish that to summon the Mali from the top of the deck. That means that Mask changes life for Darklaw. So you've got a Nibiru token, Mali, and then during the standby phase, this is going to come back as well. So you've had a way to, in theory, kind of play around the Nibiru, because you still then end your board on a card that's going to be reducing your opponent by a lot of attack, plus you're going to get into a Darklaw, which is really, really nice, and it does give you a couple of plays to move around with. So for stuff like that, for hero players, there are a couple of times where people say, right, okay, well, I'm not going to play into a Nibiru, I'm just going to stop and leave my board on 4 summons, which sometimes can be like a DPE plus the ability to go into Darklaw. If you don't have that ability, then that's where you want to kind of look. But you've got so many grave recursion plays that you can kind of hold back as well and go from there. Anyway, we're going to shuffle this up. We're going to do a second test hand going first, just to show you the consistency, and then we'll start going second and show you the OTK capabilities of this deck as well. So after the shuffle and cut, our opening hand of 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, again, a very interesting hand. So we've got the ability, so the equal, this is why a lot of people don't like to play this, is because ideally it's only going to get you Stratos. But the way I see this is, under Droll, this would probably suck, because you probably wouldn't want to go to Stratos, you'd probably want to go for Vion, and then by going for Vion, you're still not going to be able to get a search, so there's still a lot you need to kind of play around with. That being said, you would still have plays to make, even if you went directly to a Vion. But now we've got Equal and Rotor, we've actually got additional plays to make as well. So we're going to activate both of these. I would probably be going for, off of the Equal, the best one I would say would be, wherever he is, it's probably going to be Stratos, because in theory Stratos will lead us to Vion. Off of the Rotor, again, you've got a couple of options depending on what you want to go for. You could go for Liquid, just so you've got the draw 2, should anything go wrong a little bit later on. Or you can go for a Dusted Gold, it really doesn't matter. I'm probably going to go for, I would either go for Shadow Mist or Denier. And the reason you'd go for one or the other is Vion would then send the other version of itself. So let's say we go with Shadow Mist because we want to get the search. What you want to do here is you then want to normal summon the Stratos. The best thing about this is if they try to Veiler or Imperm this, because you play your Hero Blast, you could Marsh Change, tag this out, and then it dodges the Veiler and the Imperm, which is really nice. So we're going to activate the Stratos. The Stratos is only going to go for one thing, and that is going to be your Faris. Off of the back of this, you then want to use Faris' effect, dumping the Mali to the graveyard and summoning itself down, using the effect to put Increase into the Spell and Trap Zone. Increase effect, get rid of the Faris, summon itself out, get itself a Vion as its partner. Vion will then trigger its Foolish Burial effect, putting the Denier in the graveyard, and that is then set up your Destiny Hero plays as well. Again, as we did it in the first test stand, we're actually going to have the ability to loop a lot of plays. So we're going to go with these two straight away. We're going to put those into... Oh, sorry. Rookie mistake on that one. Use Vion's effect, banish the Faris, give you your Poly. There we go. Let's do that first. That would have been a smart one. There we go. And again, the exact same thing happens with Vion. If they try to Imperm it or Veiler it, you can Marsh Change it straight into a Dark Lord, which is beautiful. You're going to use both of these. You're going to go into your Link to Wonder Driver. You're then going to activate your Polymerization. Now again, you've only got 2 monsters to use, so using both of those is not the end of the world because they are 2 monsters with different attributes. Again, this will set a chain of events in motion. So you're going to summon your Sunriser here, that will trigger Wonder Driver to reset the Poly. It will also then trigger your Shadow Mist to search and of course your Sunriser to search. So your Shadow Mist then has the ability to go for a Plasma if you are going for that board wipe protection play, or it can go for something a little bit more controlled and go into a Dusted Gold or of course your Elemental Hero Neos. Either one you go for is entirely up to you, and you're going to get yourself a Miracle Fusion. So again, you're in a very nice stead. What you want to do here is you want to use the Mali effect in the graveyard. Don't use Denier just yet. I mean, it doesn't make much of a difference, but you don't really want to use it right now. So there we go. Bring the Mali out of the deck. You've now given yourself an extra monster on the board, and you're going to link the Wonder Drivers in with your Mali. This is then going to give you your Cross Crusader, and again, your plays are going to be made from here. So again, if your opponent wanted to Nibiru you, you still have Miracle Fusion to kind of make a play for as well. You do need the Water Monster in the graveyard in order to make that massively utilised. So it's not ideal right now. But you still have your Mali and your Denier plays. So if you're facing heroes, make sure they use their Mali and their Denier plays. Otherwise, you're just not going to get anywhere. Speaking of which, your Cross Crusader, just so you can fulfill the ability of the Miracle Fusion, is going to get you into your Liquid Soldier. This is when you then want to use your... Oh, well, I probably should have done that before when I had the Mali. So that's my misplay. Is that I should have, when I had the Mali on the board, used the Denier to put the Mali back to the top of the deck. Otherwise, this play doesn't happen. So my mistake, that's how you rectify it. Activate the Denier effect, put the Mali to the top of the deck, banish the Mali to summon itself out. Activate Polymerization to fuse these two together. and that is going to give you your hard summoned DPE. There we go. So now you've still got a floater under Nibiru as well, which is really, really important. Then obviously from the back of this, there's not really much more you could do. If I'd searched out the Liquid Soldier a little bit earlier on, which I could have done. No, I don't feel that I could have done. I still feel that I wanted the Stratos and the Shadow Mist. Then you've kind of still got plays from here. So it's up to you if you want to go into your Decimator. I probably wouldn't. I've got Darks and Lights on the board. I can set this as well. And kind of go from there. So setting the two of these basically means that I can turn Cross Crusader, and then I can also turn Shadow Mist. Not Shadow Mist, sorry, Darklaw into a second Darklaw should they try and imperm it or Vader or anything like that. So I've got backup plays there. I've got Plasma as a follow-up, or this could be a Dusted Gold or Shiny Neos. I've then got Miracle Fusion so that I can normal summon the Liquid, bring back monsters, and then fuse off the Liquid Soldier. So I've still got a lot of plays to make, and definitely puts a very defensive mark on the board, because this board will ultimately activate Mask Change, turn this into a Darklaw, is dealing with Graveyard, dealing with Searching, dealing with a non-target pop, dealing with a pop if your opponent tries to declare an attack, boosting all of your monsters, reducing all of your opponent's monsters. And should you need to, you can Mask Change Darklaw up. If it gets Dark Ruled or anything like that, you can Mask Change either of these up into another Darklaw, which is absolutely beautiful. So we're now going to go again, but this time we're going to start going second. So now we can start showing the aggressive behaviour of this. As you've seen as well, the deck can play without Fusion Destiny. Like, Denier is the core card for this deck right now, over Fusion Destiny. But the idea is that with it, it becomes a one-card combo rather than a multiple card combo, which can become a bit of an issue. Anyway, so we're going to shuffle this up, and then we're going to start showing what we can do with the additional card. Now, the idea is you want the additional card to be a bit of a board breaker. So that's kind of where your droplets, your chalices, your hand traps, anything like that would come into play. So after another decent shuffle and a good old cut, our opening hand of 6 this time will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually a really good hand. So even without the Faris, the fact we had a Monster Reborn plus your Dusted Gold and an ability to get Plasma or a level 5 or higher into the grave is really, really good. Again, off the back of this, these are the times that, because I'm playing Equal, I kind of want to play Solid Soldier as well, just because it gives me that free summon from the hand. It can be a bit of an issue, because if your opponent does stop it, then you're kind of left with a card that doesn't do anything. So, anyway, we're going to activate Equal. In this one, again, I'd probably go... It depends what my opponent's got on the board, but ultimately I can go for Stratos, because that will definitely bait out a negation or an involvement, and that's where a Dusted Gold can come into play. That's also where Vion can come into play as well. So we're going to normal summon the Stratos. There we go. We're going to use Stratos' effect. Now I think again on this one, unless I want to add the materials, I could probably add a Mali or I could add a Denier, because again Vion would get the other component into the graveyard and kind of go from there. So let's go with a Denier. I mean, it could have been a Shadow Mist. Shadow Mist would then search it. It just then means I need to get the monster out of my hand again, which is more faff than it's worth. You're then going to use Faris' effect to ditch the Denier, and then trigger obviously all of the effects that come between. So increase, get rid of Faris, increase gives you Vion, Vion dump Mali, Vion banish Faris, add yourself a Poly. There we go. And then again, we've got the plays that we can do to loop the Poly. And in this particular scenario, because we're not locked into anything, looping the Poly is not a bad thing to do. So again, Vion and increase. Let's go into our Wonder Driver. Then activate the Poly. Let me just double check. Yeah, I think we can activate the Poly now. Let's use, doesn't really matter, Vion and Stratos. Go into Sunriser. You could, if you wanted to, go into Trinity. It really depends on what the board is like, because Trinity is just going to be there as a one big punch and go. But something like this then gives me the ability to reset the Poly, Sunriser's effect to search out, which will give me my Miracle Fusion. I'm then going to use the effect and do it correctly this time. So we're going to use the effect of Mali, banish to summon itself from the deck, and then because I control a Destiny hero at that particular point when I finish this. Where are you? There we go. I can then summon out Denier and put this Mali back to the top of the deck. So that's how I should have done it in the last test hand. So just rectifying that now. You then want to use Wonder Driver plus your Mali. You're going to go into your cross. Again, if you're worried about Nibiru or anything like that, you would play this a little bit shorter. That's where you just hard go into a Trinity and then just finish the game off from there. You're then going to use Cross Crusaders effect, bring back Mali, pop Mali, search out what you need. Now again, at this particular moment in time, I don't think I really need anything major, so I will probably go for my Liquid Soldier, because then at least I can go Absolute, and then when I link off or get rid of Absolute, I can then clear all my opponent's monsters, which is really nice. So if I've Dark Rulered, or if I've Dropleted, that's where it kind of gets a little bit spicier, and you can kind of move from there. When it's Carly's foot, yeah, cool. Just wanted to double check that. You're then going to use the Mali effect Engrave to summon itself back. This is going to give you the 2 Destiny heroes that you need. But in this particular setup, I honestly wouldn't use both of them on the field, because you've got your Plasma in the hand, which at this point, like, I'm not negating anything. There's nothing on the board that I'm going to be negating that is going to be worth doing. So I'm going to activate the Poly. I'm going to use both of those. I'm going to go into DPE. DP is obviously going to be reducing my opponent's monsters by a lot, and kind of go from there. Then what I have the ability to do is I can use a Dusted Gold. Dusted Gold would then give me my Dark Calling. There we go. And the best thing about this is because you've got Sunriser, Sunriser is going to be beefing all your cards up. And because you've got Phoenix Enforcer, Phoenix Enforcer is actually going to be reducing all of your opponent's cards. So we're going to link those together. And the reason that this is important is you're going to go Decimator. You're then going to activate Dark Calling. You're going to banish your Dusted Gold, and you're going to banish Plasma. Doesn't really matter which one. This is then going to bring out Bane. Now, Bane is going to be incredibly strong because you want to make sure you put him under a zone that Decimator points to. So, Sunriser is going to be beefing all of your cards by, I believe it's 200 attack. Yeah, 200 attack for each different attribute you control. So, obviously, we only control 2 at the moment. So, Bane is going to be 34. Then off the back of this one, your Decimator is giving it an additional 100 for each hero monster with different names in your graveyard. So, currently, Bane is on 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39... 40, 41. So it's going to be on a 4100 attack. And then your Phoenix Enforcer is reducing your opponent's monsters by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So Bane is 99.999% going to be able to go, cool, effect, nuke the entire board. And then you're going to declare an attack. Sunriser will pop a card should they have anything left on the board. And then you're pretty much going in for game with what you've got left on board and that. Plus, you still have a Monster Reborn and a Miracle Fusion to kind of recur what you need, and a Liquid Soldier for the following turn as well, should this not go to plan. Okay, so now we're going to reset this, and we're going to go Aggression again. I'm actually quite amazed that all of these have been done without Fusion Destiny. I would have liked to have thought that at some point I would have seen Fusion Destiny, considering it's at 3 copies, but it just comes to show you that the deck, like, if Fusion Destiny was to get hit, if Fusion Destiny was to get banned or anything like that, the deck can still well and truly operate. Now, I highly doubt it's going to get banned on the upcoming list for the pure fact that it's due an Ultimate Rare. Like, if they were to ban it, and then a week later, or I believe it's been delayed till February, bring out Ultimate Rare Fusion Destiny, it's kind of like, what was the point in that? Anyway, so after another decent shuffle, and our final cut, our last test hand of 6 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well, let's put it this way. If our opponent has Droll, we're in a little bit of a sticky situation. If they don't, we're actually in a good stead. So you're going to activate both your equals. Your equals for this one, again, I would be going for your Stratos. And I could go for a Liquid right now. It doesn't really matter. Like, you do so much searching in the deck that it really doesn't matter where you go for. So, and you've opened up the Poly, so it's not the end of the world. It's still pretty cool. So normal summon the Stratos effect to search. This one I'm probably going to go with a Dusted Gold just to get the aggression then and there and out of the way. I've already got the Faris, I've already got my route to Vion, I've already got my route to both the Destiny heroes, so I'm in no real issue. So Faris will use its effect, discarding the Mali, putting that into the graveyard. Then you do the subsequential effects off the back of this. So let me do it in the correct order for you. Where are you, Increase? Of course, they'll be stacked to the top. So Increase, pop the Faris, summon itself out, summon out the Vion, Vion's effect, Foolish Burial. This one you're going to want to send your Denier because you've already got the Mali in the graveyard. Boom, they're both gone. This time we just don't need to do the banish because we opened up the poly. So we're going to link these two together. You're going to go into Wonder Driver. You're going to activate the polymerization. You're going to fuse your Stratos plus your Liquid Soldier. You're going to go into, wherever he is, Sunriser. Trigger Wonder Magician. I keep saying Wonder Magician. Wonder Driver. Reset the poly. Effect of Sunriser to search. Effect of Liquid to draw 2 and ditch. So search out your Miracle Fusion. Shuffle up to draw 2 and ditch. So draw 2. Stratos and Fusion Destiny. Again, Fusion Destiny is just right now, like no point to me whatsoever. And then again, you're just going to recycle the positions for the grave. So you're just going to go, cool, Mali effect, banish, denier effect, summon, put Mali back to the top of the deck. Where are you? Let me get the Mali from the deck. Da, 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 da. There we go. And then that's going to put this one back to the top of the deck. And then again, Wonder, Mali, cross, bring back, destroy, search. Ultimately, I don't think there's anything that I'd probably want to search apart from a Honest Neos. And then Mali, banish, summon the one that was on the top of the deck. There we go. Hard poly, fuse these two into DPE. There we go, we'll put him there on that one. And then from this point, it's really down to where you want to go. So you're going to activate your Miracle Fusion. You can banish your Liquid and Stratos, doesn't really matter which ones you banish. I suppose you probably want to banish ones that have got duplicate names in the graveyard, so probably the Vion. At least that way your Sunriser gives it a nice little buff up. There we go, and then you've got your Absolute. At this particular point, you could use Cross Crusader plus your Absolute to go into your Decimator. That will then clear, or should clear, your opponent's board. If it doesn't, then you still have a Dusted Gold. Send that, get your Dark Call in, activate your Dark Call in, banishing that plus an Absolute, which is absolutely fine. You could Mask Change, if your opponent's got back row, you could Mask Change your Absolute into an Acid, clear the back row and front row, and then go into Bane. You put Bane here, and again, Bane is going to be up by 400. It's then going to be reducing your opponent's monsters by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So your opponent is now down by 1400. Bane can then trigger effect to go again. And then, boom, that's your game there. And if should you need anything, you still have Mask Change in the battle phase, and you also have Honest Neos as well. So almost a near guaranteed OTK. Now, playing through interruptions is where it gets a little bit more tricky, which is where this deck needs to be adapted a little bit, but that would probably come from your side deck. It's kind of one of them moments that if your opponent doesn't know what you're playing, that's where you're probably going to go, right, okay, well, I'm now going to side in. I'm going to scoop game one, side in all my board breakers, and go from there. That's where your droplets comes into play. That's where your chalices come into play, your evenlies, your dark rulers, everything like that. Like, the deck has the ability to clear board quite easily, which is why droplet is a little bit better. The only issue is you do want to try and maintain hand advantage. Like, you've seen how much you can do from one card being Fusion Destiny, so it does give you 5 cards to kind of play around with and go, you know what, I can clear board off with this, or I can do what I need to with this. So it does give you a bit to play around with. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this has helped. I hope this has given you a breakdown of what you can do with this particular deck and where you can take it. It's definitely fun. It's definitely one of my most fun decks I like playing, and it definitely has gone up another power level thanks to Denier and, of course, Phoenix Enforcer. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.